Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're three wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower.
Brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and it's ready to show off.
Gregory now, I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. race against the computer, or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to another round of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship here from the epic, the legendary Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, also known to you and me as Imola, known very lovingly as Imola as well. Not so lovingly, though, by some of the drivers in this championship. It seems it's going to be a mighty, mighty tough penultimate round of the championship for these guys. However, we're very excited to see how it all unfolds. Chaz Draycott and Ed May up here in the commentary box once again. Ed, we had a really interesting and busy time out at the Hungaroring last time, but boy, this place is going to be hell on earth for some, but heaven for people like yourself, mate. You love this place, don't you?
I really do. I really enjoy it. And there are some drivers that really enjoyed the Hungaroring based on their results, didn't we? Saw some big swings in the championship and even actually a champion crowned. We'll get into that in just a moment, Chaz, because focusing on the proceedings here tonight, this is going to be so crucial for a lot of drivers and a lot of their championship aspirations as well, because it is very close, particularly in the elite class.
It absolutely is. We'll look at the championship standings right now, in fact, and Troy Dolinczek now is only 9 points clear of his teammate Luke Lucchese. Luke had a fantastic run at the Hungaroring, and Troy had a nightmare of things because he picked the wrong car, or at least the sim defaulted to the wrong car before the session started, so he was not able to race. You can see the 2 DNFs on his record there. That is really going to sting coming into these last couple of rounds, and Lucchese's been on form as well. You can see second places everywhere and a first place or two as well, so he's definitely on form at the moment. Yannis Albert went pretty well, it's safe to say, at the Hungaroring, so we'll have to just wait and see what the guys can do tonight. A few others behind them in the championship, though, haven't scored any real sort of podium finishes of late. Ryan Otton's had a good run, but other than that, there's not really been anyone else in the form book except those top 3. But as Ed rightly mentioned there, we've had a champion crowned, haven't we, Ed, when it comes to the Premier Class standings?
Yes, we have. Gianni Tahar with 760 points has a 207 point advantage, and because the final round does not count as a drop round, we were not calculating that into our sort of minds in sort of how the championship would unfold. It does mean that Gianni Tahar, if he was to, basically that means he would only lose 50 points, because then that would basically translate to his drop round. Means that he has scored enough points over the course of the season to be crowned champion before the final few races. Tristan Engelstad, his teammate, is going to look to defend second place and make it a quad-1-2 in the Premier Class, but with stiff competition from Alex Retwell, only 3 points behind, there's still some dramas potentially on the cards before the end of the season. Joe Glass, fallen away a little bit from the top 3, sees himself in 4th position. Matt Hoyland, he's now only 10 points back from 4th, with Simon Cheshire actually trying to close in on the top 5. Close between Cheshire and Robin Aston, actually 2 points separating 6th and 7th, with Nathan Crook dropping down into 8th place in the championship, but still only 4 points back, well in contention. Got James Bostock as well. He's only 8 points back from Nathan Crook, and James Rankin rounding out the top 10 in the Premier Class, 14 points back from James Bostock.
Yeah, it's mighty, mighty close in that Premier Class. We'll have to keep our eye on it because it can very easily shift under our noses and we will not realise, so we'll have to make sure we do the maths. In the Evo Class, though, it's very, very close. Russell Jakes leading the way from Rob Mackay. The two of them have had fantastic battles as of late, and to be fair, as it was very fairly said last week, it's not the way that they want the championship to go. Russell got a big, big hit during the second race where he started really far up the order, and unfortunately it dropped him a lot of points. You can see there he got an 11th place finish, and Rob was gracious in victory at least, and said that, you know, that's not how he wants the championship form to swing. John Ludbrook had a great time at the Hungaroring with 2 second places, and Wesley Van Rens was back on the podium for the first time in a long time as well, so he's going to be hoping to continue that form up and get back up to the top. But in the teams championship, Ed, it's looking like it's all pretty much sorted for the RDSA Esports guys, but Quad Dash, considering it's a 2-car team, have been on real fire.
They really have been. RDSA looking to try and close out the team's championship before the end of the season, but it would need two bad results for Tristan Engelstad and Gianni Terha, who currently sit in second place for Quad Dash Racing Team. DXT still remain in third place, but their advantage to Sumo Racing Team in fourth has been drastically reduced. It's now 2 points for the final position on the team's championship podium. Ludcrook Racing dropping back still in fifth position. MRC 493 there in sixth. We've had one change from Hungaroring till tonight, and it is for seventh and eighth, with Barbecue Bread Racing dropping down into eighth position, just behind PTEC GP2 Porsche. Then we have RLH in ninth, with KM Racing rounding out the top 10 in the team's championship.
Smashing stuff, and we find ourselves here at Imola for this penultimate race meeting of the season. This is going to be an endurance round of the championship, so it's going to be a 1 hour race. We should be expecting 2 pit stops from pretty much all drivers. When we go to Mugello in a week's time, it's going to be 2 half-hour races with 1 pit stop in each. But Imola, as we've discussed before, Ed, and as we will discuss many a time tonight, it's a circuit where the curbs are mighty important, aren't they? There's a few bits of runoff here and there, but there are some savage curbs and bumps and lumps around this place that you have to be so accurate on.
Yes, it really will be, and it's something that drivers do need to get their heads around, I think, and the way you approach the corners, because you want a car that can really attack the corners, especially through this section here. You can see Christophe Demey's confidence over the curbs really reduces the deficit to the car up ahead. That is the 68, I believe, of Sean Clark. He's just been able to pass. Currently getting to grips with the circuit before qualifying gets underway, and we have had a few notices from the stewards before the race tonight, haven't we, Chaz, about some sort of qualifying bans from some drivers.
Yes, and I have to apologise to Yanis Albert in a way, because last week we showed him getting a run-up, let's say, on the start-finish straight, and I said, oh dear, I don't want to get him in trouble for that. It turns out I did get him in trouble for that. He's had a qualifying ban and a pit lane start after his infringement last week. So, I mean, the guys thanked me for being able to pick up on it, but at the same time, I don't want to get Yanis in trouble. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. Hussein Sarakadesla is on a qualifying ban as well, because he went very, very early last week during the rolling start of the race. So he's going to be starting, well, he's not going to be qualifying at all. Who else was there? I don't think there was any others. No other major ones to note, was there, really? So it's just a case of now the championship closing up, because obviously Troy Dolinchek and this man, Luke Lucchese, very close for the title now in a series that, to be fair, Ed, we thought in the early stages Troy was going to wrap up with miles left to go.
Yes, he is, and I'm actually having a look around just to see where Troy Dolinchek is in the practice session, but I can't seem to see him anywhere.
No, I can't either. That's rather interesting, to say the least. Not sure if he's connected to the session yet and not shown up on our timing, but yeah, you usually have to be in the sessions before the end of qualifying, don't you? As long as you join, you can join any time between practice and quali, as long as you're in before the race session starts or before it ticks over. So we'll keep our eye out for Troy Dolinchek, but Luke Lucchese, especially with the amount of points that you can score on a single evening like this, he could put one hand on the trophy tonight over his teammate, which would be remarkable, to say the least, considering that, like we said, Troy was seemingly favourite by miles for a lot of it. The session is now just ticking over. We sit here with the camera just on the grandstand. You can see all the cars disappear for a moment. The crowd may blink in and out, and the weather may change as we head on over to the quali session. Who's going to be the first driver to head out, and who's going to trigger my camera? It is Ian Stitchbury, who, to be fair, I'm not friends with this week, because he's in a Ferrari now, Ed. He's changed from the the Ford, sorry. But, to be fair, we heard from Matt Hoyland, didn't we, last time out, that he's testing the car before next season. So maybe Ian's just doing a little bit of the same here to see whether he can get the Ferrari to a level that he likes it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously the home circuit for the Ferrari. You can see the Italian tricolor decorating the car there with And actually working very nicely with the Welsh flag on the wing end plates you can see there. It does fit quite nicely, actually.
Yeah, it does. It's a shame about looking at the back of it, but yeah, it's it's a good-looking car from the front, this Ferrari. I mean, when it comes up over the hill here, it looks so menacing and so glorious, doesn't it? I was actually up in Scotland over the weekend with a friend of mine, and we nipped around the corner to a Ferrari dealership and saw the 296 road car, and it's a glorious-looking road car. It's very elegant and very classy. But it's just missing something compared to some of its previous versions, let's say, like the 458 or the 488 that it seems to represent or resemble, let's say. It's just not as, I don't know, it's not quite got the same pretty look about it. Alex Koeneraerts, I think, is running a different livery here, but unfortunately for Alex, his spec map seems to have stayed on the car from last time. It does this sometimes, does Trading Paints. It keeps old spec maps on and doesn't update the new ones, which is rather frustrating. So apologies to Alex Koeneraerts. Got Joe Shapara out there at the moment for JSD Racing Team as well in the bright green 992. Paul Cowlishaw back with us again tonight in the Sumo Racing Lamborghini as well. Glorious sounding race car. Let's ride on board as he powers down the not quite straight here at Imola. Just listen to this up through the gears. What a great noise. This'll sound good. There we go. Love a bit of that. It's great to see the hand animation as well, actually, isn't it, Ed, from the driver, changing up through the gears. Now, that's something that we've not had in iRacing for a long time, but the recent update has brought that to us and just adds that little bit more polish. Sure, it's not always perfectly in sync because, let's face it can't always react to when we're going to change gear, but it certainly adds a bit of immersion for us spectators and broadcasters watching.
Yeah, it is great. What I really love as well, where you can see the driver's arms reacting to the forces and trying to recover the cars, where you see them really fighting the wheel, and the cars go from essentially a Lamborghini turning into a Porsche there on the straight. It's Stephen Donnelly we're following now. Rushman coming up to one of my favourite corners. You just have to really trust the car as you throw it in and then down through Aquamarine. Cut the inside if you can. Try not to unsettle it too much, and then straighten it out nicely as you then lead the car in, just gently feathering the brake and the throttle up the hill. Aquamarine is such a wonderful set of corners, Aquamarine. I really, really love it.
This is the lovely but very challenging chicane over at the top of the hill. So many people hate it, don't they? Is it Variante Alta, they used to call it?
Alta, yes.
It's got a new name though now, hasn't it? Again, I think, is it Agostini? No, not Agostini. Oh, what was it called? Oh, I'm feeling like an idiot now. It's Grassini. It's known as the Grassini chicane now. I think it's named after a legendary motorbike racer. I think Grassini was. Apologies if I've got that wrong and if I've upset anyone that knows that. But yeah, it's known as the Grassini chicane now. Which, again, it's like Alboreto, isn't it? At the end of the lap at Monza, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. It's always going to be Parabolica.
Yeah, I've always known it as Variante Alta, right at the top of the hill. I think, for me, when you're coming through sort of the Villeneuve chicane here, then out of Tosa, that ride up towards the Piratella is just so great, especially because sometimes you can try and battle side by side. It is an overtaking opportunity through there because you can upset someone's rhythm out of the Villeneuve chicane in towards the Tosa hairpin. If you get alongside, then it's going to be a great battle all the way through towards Piratella, where you can usually finish the overtake if you've got the inside line.
Fantastic to ride on board there with Fretwell, using all of the road and right on the limit here, really pushing the Ferrari 296 GT3. It's currently second fastest in class, because who else would it be than Gianni Terha that's gone quicker. Joe Shapara's just beaten him as well, and it's Alex Koeneraerts that is fastest in the Evo class. Tristan Dino Brega has gone quickest out of everybody for RDSA Esports. Still no sign of Troy Dolinczek, but Luke Lucchese isn't out on the circuit yet either, to be fair, so not really sure what's going on there. I'll check the Discord and see if he said anything about not being able to join or something like that. But yeah, I think it's very odd that we don't have a Troy Dolinczek out there on the circuit. Can't seem to see anything from him in the Discord. We've got Thomas Pugh on our screens right now for Barbecue Bread Racing. He's had a pretty solid season, to be fair. He's had a few ups, few downs, but he's been there, hasn't he? Every single round, pushing on and challenging those drivers right at the top of the pile.
All the way up and down the field, keeping my eyes, of course, on the Evo class, because that's, I think, where we're going to see the big swings in the championship. If we don't get the Troy Dolenchek coming into our field, then we will probably expect to see big advantage, won't we, for Luke Lucchese. So I think the main focus is going to have to be on the Evo class here tonight for all of the championship permutations and everything will unfold.
Russell Jakes just crossing the line there for MLC 493. A new livery for these guys tonight as well. Chris Keenan messaged me in the week and said that my guide on spec maps really helped him with this design. And thank you very much, Chris, for getting in touch and letting me know. But the car looks resplendent in this lovely purple and teal gradient. It's got this sort of metallic satin finish to it. If you did see it up close, you'd see it's a sort of, I don't know if this angle will show you. Yeah, it's like glittery. He's added a bit of noise to the livery. So it's almost like a glittery pattern all over the car. It's really difficult to simulate that on iRacing, but yeah, it's got this lovely glitter effect on it when you see it up close. Unfortunately, thanks to iRacing's compression of some liveries, it does come out a bit pixelated, but is what it is. We've got Dino Brega, Cowlishaw, Demai and Brayton back top 4 in the elite class. Then it's Engelstad that's gone quickest in the Premier class at the minute, ahead of his teammate Tahar, then Shapara, then Fretwell. Hoyland back repping the McLaren again, actually, for DXT. I remember, no, of course Chaz hasn't fixed the cameras again for this week, so apologies everybody, but we get to listen to the very, very loud McLaren. It was great to see it appear though, wasn't it, at the Hungaroring last time out, Ed, and he did a good job in it until the contact near the end of the race. Yeah,
it's funny because we mentioned some of the lesser utilised cars on the iRacing GT3 front, weren't we? We were talking about, obviously, the Ford GT that Johan debuted on that very round, and we got to talking about the McLaren, the flamethrower that beast is, and I think it must have been maybe lighting the bulb above Matt Hoyland's head there, because he jumped into it at the very next round at Hockenheim and actually had a decent run of it as well, didn't he? He managed to get it onto the podium, if I believe. Actually, no, he wasn't quite on the podium, did he? Because he was involved in that incident.
Yeah.
And then dropped back to, I think, allow, who was it again? Was it Gary Mitchell, I think, back ahead?
Yes, yeah, I think there was a few bits of contact here and there, and eventually ended up with him not getting the result that he was on for, which was a shame. Marcel Breitenbach's just improved in the Ferrari, 6th fastest in his class at the minute. And it was Tahar that's just gone quickest in the Premier class as well, actually. He's gone 42 thousandths of a second ahead of his teammate Tristan Engelstad, but it's this man, the other Tristan Dino Brega, that is currently quickest for RDSA Esports. No lap time in yet, I should say, from Luke Lucchese. He is on a lap though. He's actually halfway around it at this present moment, just coming down towards Aqua Minerale, so we'll keep our eye on it and see what he can do with this, but we know Luke is most likely going to be right up there on the top of the sheets, don't we, Ed?
Yeah, we usually expect to see him way up there, and I think he's just been waiting for the track to come to him more than anything else. Obviously the drivers have been able to put in plenty of practice between obviously the last round and today, and it's a circuit that you really do need to prepare well for, because the corners come at you thick and fast, and if you don't have the muscle memory absolutely nailed, you're going to be finding yourself just chasing shadows out there on the circuit. So it's going to be interesting to see really who's been able to practice and who hasn't, as Luke Lucchese now rounding out of the final corner, going to be setting his first time on the board, and you can see there's already a few purple sectors in there.
Yeah, it's looking good for Luke Lucchese, this. Looking very good indeed. I think he's gone fastest by about 2 tenths there, based on what it just came up. Yeah, 2 1/4 tenths of a second. Luke Lucchese goes quickest. Really good stuff from the potential new championship leader for RDSA Esports. It's a 1-2 for those guys at the moment. Graham Matthew going quickly as well in his class in KM Racing. He's got a purple sector in the middle of this lap. No improvement in Sector 4. But Lamborghini hard on the brakes into Rivazza. I was just going to talk about Rivazza actually, because you use a lot of curb on the way in, a lot of curb on the way out, and you also straddle the curbs on the right hand side of the circuit part way round the corner and on the exit as well. So you really have to be careful with what the car's doing and make sure that it's as stable as possible at every opportunity. Graham improves quite a lot on his time there. Does he go to the top of the class? No, he does not. Still half a second off the top spot of Alex Koenraerts. Ryan Ottens just goes 4th fastest in class, pulls over pretty much straight away, so is Jan Stitchbury. Paul Cowlishaw carrying on. But a lot of the guys now completing their final laps of the session, Ed, and we've actually got a few of them in the YouTube chat now. Matt Hoyland saying good evening, gents. I thought I'd made a mess of that, pleasantly surprised. Simfret as well, which is Alex Fretwell saying I completely messed that up. But, you know, the guys are still throwing everything at it, and this is one of those circuits, isn't it? You have to attack it, and it's not forgiving.
You really do have to just absolutely go for it, and can see actually into the pits comes the Sumo Racing driver of Paul Cowlishaw, doesn't have his teammate out there to help him, Yannis Albarin. Not in the sense of maybe giving him a slipstream, because they do obviously work on the circuit alone in these isolated qualifying sessions, but just having the teammate there and being able to talk to them about where you can maybe push the car a bit more, where you're sort of struggling, it can really help you to prepare essentially for when you're coming up to that area of the circuit next, by having a separate pair of eyes and hands and feet to feel out the circuit for you. Having a look actually at Graham Matthew, I'm glad you picked up this, because you can see the purple sectors coming through for the 72 Lamborghini. Not an improvement in that fourth sector though, so all that hard work could be being undone here as he comes into the final couple of corners.
I'm sure I've got a car with a livery on it on Rocket League that looks like this. I keep thinking of where I've seen it before. I've got a very similar looking car in Rocket League. But yeah, Graham Matthew pushing on, so clearly he's not done his very best so far in that first sector. He's able to still find a bit of time each time he circulates, but that fourth sector has been a bit of a thorn in his side up to now. Half a second to find, and well, he finds 4/10 there and goes second fastest in the Evo category. Nicely done indeed by Graham Matthew. Ashley Brooks is the next car to cross the line in this gorgeous Rothmans liveried Porsche for Glasstec Racing. Fantastic looking bit of kit. As he powers his way down towards the first chicane. Maybe a bit of a Senna tribute. It wasn't long ago that it was 30 years since we lost the great Ayrton Senna here at Imola in 1994 on the, I think it was the 1st of May, was it not, that he passed away. That horrendous accident at the old Tamburello before there was ever the chicane or anything in there. But it's lovely to see this throwback livery for it. And to be fair, it's always a bit of a debate I've had actually with the Rothmans Williams, because I've always asked people, were they white with blue bits on or were they blue with white bits on? Because I always thought they were white with blue bits on. What do you reckon?
I'm with you. I think it was white with the blue bits then on afterwards, but obviously it's difficult to see because from certain angles it does look more blue, and then from other angles here you can definitely see it's a lot more white. This
definitely looks like it's blue with white bits, this version of the livery, for sure. Certainly looks great on the Porsche as he has a bit of a wiggle through the right. Ashley Brooks, a livery designer and one of the championship sponsors as well, AB Designs. Thank you also to Kame, Medius and Keenan Eco Energy for sponsoring the series. Lovely to have you all on board. Great to have the support as always. Not many cars left on the circuit now though, Ed, but Luke Lucchese, he's still powering on actually. He's not done all his laps yet.
He's still carrying on, still got some more laps on the board like you rightly mentioned. But also speaking of support for the series and the seasons, we have just had it confirmed, haven't we, Chaz, yesterday, that entries have been fully booked out, fully sold out for Season 5.
Absolutely, yeah. Amazing news from the guys. Great effort from those involved at Evolution Sim Racing. Ed and I will be back for Season 5 as well. There's a couple of rounds that won't be broadcast or won't be broadcast live because of real-world commitments with my commentary, but we will be making it work for you lot and making sure that you all enjoy the show as best you can and giving you the best coverage that we can throughout the championship. And you'll just have to keep an eye on the YouTube channel for a few days after some of the rounds and we'll get an as live broadcast done, which will be great because Ed and I will keep our eyes off the results and we'll still be able to react to it as it's the first time we see it. So don't you worry, it's going to be very exciting stuff. Lucchese then, round the first couple of corners to start his final lap of the session. Rob Mackay is just about across the line. This is his second lap. He got an incident point on his first one. Quite surprised actually by everybody. They've done a smashing job to get loads of clean laps in because it's not easy to get a lap round here without an incident point, but Rob's done 2 now and he's struggled to get a clean one in here.
Yeah, really struggling. Obviously, it's a circuit that invites you to push very hard through the corners and cut just that little bit extra and run that little bit wider. And I think that's maybe just been catching Rob Mackay out just a touch here as we now see him going through the Villeneuve chicane up towards Tosa. On the race, going for this later apex to really maximise the speed coming out, but you can see just struggles to get the power down. The rear end kicks out at him, which compromises his run all the way up the hill towards Spiritella. It's just going to be looking really to get anything on the board.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I say, you've just got to try and get that one clean lap on the board just to get that banker. But Rob, quite high up in the Evo Class Championship as well, so bit of pressure on him to make sure that it's a decent one at least. A bit of a wiggle through Acqua Minerale, to say the least. Manages to keep it within track limits. That should be absolutely fine. Ashley Brooks goes 6th fastest in class, 28th overall for him. Through the chicane, nice and tidy from Rob. He's probably pushing a little bit too hard on the exit there because it is essentially a blind exit, isn't it, Ed, when you come out of there, because you can't quite see where the AstroTurf and the curb is when you go over the sort of left-hand part of it. So you have to just pray, basically, and plant your foot. Rob Mackay makes his way around Rivazza now.
Sorry, Chaz, I was muted there. I was just saying that it was about the practice that drivers have to put in to really get a feel for the circuit and trust that when they chuck it into the corners, they're going to come out exactly where they expect to, both in the confines of the circuit, but also around any drivers they might be battling with come the race.
16 thousandths of a second is all that separates Rob Mackay and Gareth Newton. And Rob has got another lap to complete here. He's 21st overall, but he's moved up to 4th place in class, so he's starting near the front of that. I've just noticed the number plates on the car, SM17 Earth, because they're all... Oh, no, he's actually going to put the number plate in the barrier. Oh, Rob Mackay overdoes it going into the Villeneuve chicane. We're going to see a bit of that today, I can tell you. It's not an easy corner to get right in these cars, but he's got the Smurf number plate on the car, because there's a few of them in the Evo class that claim that they are smurfing at the top end. If you don't know what smurfing is, think of it as... I don't know, say you're a esports player on Rocket League, your Rocket League Championship Series level, some of the best in the world, but you don't want to affect your ratings or whatever. People do it on iRacing as well if they're World Championship drivers. You basically have a second account that means you can't take it as seriously, or you can pretend that you're not as good as you are to have an easier time of it, be put in a class where you could easily dominate and people not suspect a thing. But here in this, excuse me, We've got a few drivers that have been called out for being Smurfs, basically, because they're that quick and in the Evo class. Now, the classes are determined by I rating, so there's certain I rating brackets for each of them, so it is on paper, but some of the guys are definitely driving beyond their I rating, it's safe to say. People actually used to say the same about me, can you believe it? I think I'm 2.4k now, but before I was 2k, people used to say that I drove like a 3k. I'll take that any day of the week, because these days 3k's slow. Apparently. I didn't want to upset anybody. Session basically has come to an end now, Ed. Where on earth is Jamal Gandor when you need him? Because he's not out on track for once. I don't think he's here tonight, actually.
No, he isn't. Hussein Sarkardesla has made it, though. We were missing him, actually, from the start of qualifying in towards practice, but he has made it on to the server, obviously having to serve a pit lane start as well as Yannis Alba.
Got a few cars still just sat in the pit lane. Alex Koenraerts is the fastest man in the Evo class. He's just sitting waiting for the session to complete. Who else have we got? Gianni Terhar also in the Porsche. He is the fastest man in his class. And actually, if we do this camera change again, Luke Lucchese in the RDSA esports machine. He was the fastest overall in that one. John confirming actually that unfortunately Jamal Gandor has been kicked from the championship, so maybe a bit of a sore subject to bring up, but I think that was due to incidents. There was a few times even at the Hungaroring that we saw where he didn't quite respect the yellow flags, it's safe to say. Alex Koenraerts' livery has just been posted in the Discord. It's a gorgeous green, white and red tricolor livery. However, like I said before, we've still got the spec map on the Porsche that affects his livery, so I'm hoping that I could maybe try and find out which one he is so I can get it fixed. That obviously his spec map is not ruined, but there's no chance of me finding out what his I rating or his I rating number is. Actually, I might do. If you bear with me, let me just ask him. I'll get his iRacing ID just so we can try and bring it down. We can't see that in the... Oh, we can see it in the overlay, actually, can't we? I'm being stupid now. I'm saying this all out loud, basically, everybody, just so you know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing. Alex Koenraerts is 872051, so if I delete the spec map, it should work. I'll refresh the liveries as well for when it comes on. Ashley Brooks is saying, I missed me in the livery. You're not watching the broadcast, son. We've been all over that. Don't you worry, love. I've even told you in Discord, Ash. We've looked at it, mate. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, sunshine. And like I've said in Discord, there's about 40 new liveries tonight as well, so we've got our work cut out. Only 3 seconds of qualifying left to go. No cars out there on track, so we are all good to go. And yeah, we have now to see our full grid, one of the final grids of the season actually here, Ed, and it's another Very, very packed one. Luke Lucchese on the front row of the grid. Pole position for him alongside Tristan Dinobrega. Then it's Christophe Demay and Ryan Ottens making up row 2 with Paul Cowlishaw and Jan Stitchbury on row 3. Thomas Pugh will start in 7th position with Gianni Terhaar, the highest placed driver in the Premier class, 8th on the grid. Then it's John Breitenbach alongside Tristan Engelstad to round out the top 10. Following them is Matt Hoyland and Jack Wyborn on row 6. Marcel Breitenbach and Joe Shapara on row 7. Alex Fretwell looking to try and get second in the Premier class is 15th ahead of Alex Koenraerts, who we just saw a moment ago. He leads the Evo class away. Simon Cheshire is 17th alongside Graham Matthew, with Russell Jakes and James Bostock completing the top 20. Then it's Rob Mackay and Gareth Newton on the 11th row of the grid ahead of Scott Kostrick for KM Racing and John Ludbrook for Ludcrook Racing. Then it's Stephen Donnelly and James Rankin on row 13 ahead of Robin Aston and Gary Mitchell. Ashley Brooks and Francois Brandet complete the top 30. Paul Robson and Danny Weir are next up. Danny's still racing in the Audi, I believe, or has he changed cars? I'm not quite sure. Wesley Van Rens and James Pallett alongside each other on row 17. Sean Clark and Yanis Albert next up. Watch out for Yanis making his way through the field. Hussein Saraka Desla and Dennis Kohler did not take to the circuit during qualifying. We look forward to seeing how those guys can progress as the race goes on. Just a 1 hour race tonight, and it's going to be about 2 pit stops for pretty much all drivers. But from the front, it's Luke Lucchese in the Porsche that's going to be leading us away. Well, I say that. He's going to have, obviously, the iRacing safety car Porsche in front, but it's the RDSA Esports guys that will start 1 and 2 at the very front of this pack. Ryan Ottens has been a bit of a revelation late on in the season, hasn't he, Ed? He's had 2 podiums recently, potentially another one here, because he's remarkably consistent.
Yes, he is very consistent, but he's going to have to battle with Christophe Demay, who's going to have the inside line in towards turn 1, and it's going to be so important to get through those first corners safely, because it is always so difficult, especially in GT3s with a grid as sizable as this one, to actually get through there nice and clean. We are just waiting for drivers to make it to the grid, but obviously with drivers having to serve a pit lane start, we will have to wait the full length of time before they get up and rolling. Forget, it's going to be Yanis Albert and Hussein Saraka Desla waiting in the pit lane for all of the cars to streak on by before they can get underway.
And the worst thing is as well, they start from their pit boxes really, really early down the pit lane as well. It's not like they're just sat at the end of the pit lane ready to roll out. They can't move from where they are here until the whole field has gone by. So it's going to be mighty, mighty painful for them. Glass Tech Racing making the joke in chat, Jamal Gondor, which is... I like it. I'm sorry, Jamal, but that's a very, very good joke. That is Glass Tech Racing. Anyway, as they head to the line here at the legendary Autodromo Nazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari thingy, Imola, as it's known. I'm just going to call it Imola. The revs will rise, the speed will rise, the lights will come on, they'll very quickly go out, and Luke Lucchese will lead us away from the start-finish line for round 14 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship, which gets underway now. Does it? Now, listen to this.
Tristan Dinobrega already covering off Christophe Demay. I think Ryan Ottens is going to try and go around the outside here, Chaz, in towards turn 1.
Ryan Ottens, yep, takes the later apex, tries to cut across him, bit of contact on the exit, and Ottens is already around in front of the field. Demay's off as well, Jan Stitchbury's off there with him too. Ryan Ottens trying to hold the brakes before he comes back on. No, he's in the middle of the road. Fretwell's in the wall. Alex Fretwell from the Premier class near the lead of the championship is in the barriers. There's cars all over the place, and there's one of the Lamborghinis off there as well. Gareth Newton is involved. There's one of the CHR Racing Porsches. Yanis Albert's going to come through and think, what on God's green earth is this about? Hussein Saraka Desla gets through. Danny Weir is off in the Audi. Where's he going? But goodness me, it was just that one bit of contact, wasn't it? Ryan Ottens trying to make a move, and it all just went to pot from there. I don't necessarily think there was too much done wrong, but Ryan just ran wide in the second part of the chicane.
Yeah, meanwhile, normal service resumed for RDSA Esports, leading the race 1 and 2. Luke Lucchese and Tristan Dinobrega further back. There's battling everywhere we look, just trying to make the best of the situation they found themselves in. You saw Jan Stitchbury got caught up in that incident as well, and now it's Fretwell. He's just trying to limp home, really, and it's so difficult and dangerous when you're going to be on the inside in an unsteady car in towards that Comunale. Ryan Ottens' streak of podiums could be coming to an end here. Who's that? Is that Paul Robson just having a bit of a moment at the very base of that Comunale?
Yeah, I think the imbalanced car with the damage that he had on the first lap, just easy to spin it around. Here's Tristan Engelstad in the Mercedes. with its big anglerfish gob and an even uglier gob chasing it down, which is John Breitenbach's BMW. Listen to them roll their way down the start-finish straight, though. Luke Lucchese leads after lap 1 from Tristan Dinabrega, Christophe Demay in 3rd place in the Audi. Then we have Gianni Terhar, Tristan Engelstad, Jack Wyborn battling away for the top 3 in their respective class in Premier. And it's Koenraads, Jakes and Mackay in the top 3 there. Love the Mercedes, though. Tristan Engelstad, rear gunner to his teammate, you could say here. They're trying to do their best for the Teams Championship. Let's just have a look back at that start, shall we, Ed? Because it's such a shame what happened to Ryan Ottens, but to be honest, I don't think he left enough room down the inside, in fairness.
No, it looked like he was just trying to close a gap, and there was still the overlap, but we'll have a look just from the very beginning of the race to see exactly how it all unfolded, because we did cut to it just a little late. Let's have a look now. Jan Stitchbury just gets left behind. You can see he wasn't quite as eager on the throttle as Porsche just up ahead of Ryan Ottens. Already looking to go around the outside, but then towards the exit, he just cuts across the nose of the... Then you can see Jan. He does the right thing by getting well out of the way, but drops back several places because the gravel slows you down a lot. Then further back, is he actually able to hold the brakes, or does the gravel sort of keep his momentum?
I think the gravel kept his momentum, in fairness, and I think it was more down to the fact that the car was going backwards, and basically when it's going backwards and you try and hold the brakes, it just doesn't do anything on iRacing. It's really strange like that, but yeah, it just runs that little bit wide. Christophe Demay was on the white line, and I think it's Paul Cowdershaw that smacks into Ryan Ottens first in the Lamborghini. No, he actually gets hit by, I think, Joe Shapara, who then goes into Fretwell, and Shapara's teammate gets involved in it as well, actually, in the second of the JSD cars. That was Stephen Donnelly that got involved in that one. So you'll see it here. Joe Shapara, one of the first on the scene here. You've got the McLaren fire breathing its way into the chicane. Bit of contact there as well, actually, with one of the CHR cars, I think that was. You can see the smoke up ahead. People slowing it down a little bit. Hesitant. And then, Ottens just keeps coming left. I think he was expecting it to stop. There's a lovely look at Alex Koenraads' livery. But yeah, that's a massive, massive shame, that. And to be fair, a lot of them were being hesitant. There just wasn't anywhere for him to go, was there? Because it just closed up.
Yeah, and when it's too wide and you're on the exit of that corner, if you're on the outside line, there is nothing you can do. You can slam on the brakes, but a lot of the time when you get into the ABS, it doesn't stop at all in these things. It's a weird quirk of iRacing where the ABS doesn't work as well as it should do.
Yeah.
As it would do in real life. Because in real life, these GT3s, they're almost always right on the ABS, just because it's the most efficient and smartest way to slow the car down. But for some reason, iRacing, it works the opposite.
Then again, it's different to Gran Turismo 7, where you can't turn and brake at the same time ever. So we're lucky for what we've got in iRacing, I can tell you that. Anyway, we look here at Dennis Kohler. We've not seen too much of Dennis this season, actually. He's in car 42, having a really good run there at Sean Clark, actually. He's looking down the inside of him. They're in the same class. Into Aqua Minerale, and through he goes. They've got Hussein Saraka Desla, Kohler's teammate, I believe. No, he's not, actually. They're just both in shiny cars. Saraka Desla gets a really, really good run up the hill towards Variante Alta. That's going to gain him another position. Sean Clark just being overtaken there down the inside. And through he goes. But tidy stuff from Sean, to be fair to him. Just managed to basically give the guys enough room to get the job done without it being a massive issue. Paul Cowlishaw flying down the start-finish straight in the slippery Lamborghini. Looks like he's in a completely different league to Gianni Terhar's Porsche. Tristan Engelstad, I think maybe slowdown penalty for Terhar.
It could very well be potentially cutting a little bit too much on the inside of the final corner. It is easily done, but he's able to, I think, barely get the better of the BMW of Jean Breitenbach. Again, not necessarily needing to fight because they are in different classes. Breitenbach in the elite class, Engelstad in the Premier class, or Terhar rather in the Premier class.
Whoa.
Jack Wyborn, look at this, all the way around the outside. Is he going to be able to get the run on the exit? Ooh, just about. He's going to be there or thereabouts on the run up the hill towards Spiritella.
Great stuff by both of them, really respectful. Matt Hoyland on the inside line tries to squeeze the Porsche wide with the skinny little McLaren. Somehow doesn't end up in contact, I don't think, but now Marcel Breitenbach's just behind these guys. Alex Koenraads is leading the way in the Evo class. There's that gorgeous livery for this round of the season. It's got the Italian tricolour on it and the Dutch flag on the end plates as well. He's got Simon Cheshire just behind him. Second place in the Evo class is Russell Jakes. He's a few cars back. Graham Matthew is another few cars back as well. I love seeing the cars go through the shadows and all the trees there towards that chicane. It looks absolutely mega. What does look mega, though, is the championship prospects for Luke Lucchese at the moment, though. He leads this race by 1.1 seconds over Tristan Dinobrega, and then they've got 4 seconds over Christophe Demay behind them. So RDSA doing what RDSA does best at the moment, Ed, and they are absolutely smashing it.
It is basically normal progress resumed for RDSA Esports. They don't have a pesky Sumo Racing Lamborghini up in the mix with them, thanks to obviously Yanis Alber's qualifying ban and pit lane start. But he is making decent progress up through the field already and could potentially try an alternate strategy, maybe a slightly earlier pit stop to get out of traffic and have clear air where he can basically just run it until the end.
I was just looking at Yanis's wheels because he asked me the other day in Discord, Chaz, what is your least favourite colour? And I said basically whatever colour you're going to pick next, Yanis, is probably my least favourite colour, because there's been the running joke that I hate the colour of his wheels, and he's basically going to make them the ugliest wheels he can do for the last couple of races, and he's done that very well because they're currently lime green, which as you can tell does not go with that car at all. It's a very Rocket League player thing. I keep telling you how good Yanis is at Rocket League. He's very good at it, but yeah, there's a theme on Rocket League. You have to make your car look awful if you're a good player. I seem to think that that's a bit of a theme. James Pallett just moving over to one side there, saying after you, Sunshine. Battle for third place in the Evo class, though. This is Rob Mackay round the outside of Graham Matthew in the KM Racing Lamborghini. Trying to make it work all the way around there, and then hard on the brakes into Acca Minerale. Great respect and space given by both, but Rob Mackay gets the move done. Bit of a hop and a skip and a jump over the curb, though, and is he going to lose that back out again?
So Rob Mackay is able to keep the Lamborghini at bay for now, and in towards the chicane he holds on through Variante Alta, or Crescini, as it is now known. Yeah, and that's going to be difficult to get used to, I think, Chaz, isn't it? The changing corner names.
I hate it.
I understand why they do it, but it is just difficult for us as commentators mainly. Nobody else really pays much attention to the corner names apart from us.
No, absolutely not. No one needs to say them as much. We've got fastest laps coming in from each class at the minute, to be fair. Looking at the weather conditions, which is something we've not done yet, it is 9:10 in the morning here in the sim, so the circuit will be heating up. It's not actually going to be progressing the time, so it's not really going to be changing that much, but it's just going to be the tyre temperature and the cars putting the heat into the track. 21 degrees Celsius track temperature is not high at all, really, so the cars are going to feel about as good as they will do at this point. Robin Aston, I've just noticed, has got the lightweight front end on that Porsche for ARC Motorsports. Certainly had a big old hit on the first lap, but we've got a very steady stream of cars at the moment, haven't we, Ed? There's constantly cars everywhere in one big line all the way around the circuit, which is quite entertaining.
It is very, very entertaining, as you can see now. As I'm just thinking about the Evo class at the moment, and it's Koenraad's, because he has been pretty comfortable. Obviously, the gap to Russell Jakes has been coming down. That's obviously important for the championship, isn't it, for Russell Jakes to have a good weekend. Or not a good weekend. I'm used to it being a race weekend. It's not a weekend at all, is it? It's a Thursday. Good Thursday. Well, if possible, a good Thursday. I mean, I guess Thursdays can be good because, you know, it's just if Friday's around the corner. There's the weekend. Yeah,
true. To be fair, I mean, I was away until Tuesday afternoon, so it's been a really weird week for me. When I got back and it was, you know, fully went into Wednesday feeling like it was Monday, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's Friday tomorrow. It's like, what? Where's that gone? Quick recap then. Luke Lucchese leads the way. Tristan Dinobrega in second place. There was a bit of a gap in the field formed on the first lap after contact between Christophe Demay and Ryan Ottens put the latter around and in front of the pack. Tristan Engelstad leads the way in the Premier class ahead of Gianni Terhar and Matt Hoyland. And then it's Jack Wyborn and Marcel Brayton back. Alex Koenraadts continues to lead the way in Evo ahead of Russell Jakes. Rob Mackay in third place there. Not too much between our top two, actually. Koenraadts here in the Porsche, and then Russell Jakes only there actually behind him in fellow Porsche. He's just gained a few tenths on him in the first corner as well. So the gap is changing here, and Russell Jakes, we've seen it multiple times this season, Ed. He's able to, despite not starting on pole in the class, make his way up to the back of the leader and easily take a win.
Yeah, it is a lot about just the race performance rather than
car around.
qualifying.
Gianni.
Who's that having a moment? Gianni Terhar's had a moment in towards Tosa. The champion of the Premier class starting to struggle a little bit.
Did he get any help? I don't think he had anyone near him, did he? Was it just a little spin on the downshift? Yes, it was.
Rotation, too much speed into the corner.
Oh, good stuff by Matt Hoyland to avoid him there. That was really good awareness by Matt. He just let the car run that little bit deeper, a little bit wide. Didn't make any contact. That's a big, big shame, that, for the newly crowned Premier Champion of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship, Gianni Terha. But we know that Gianni will push on. He'll still have a smile on his face, to be fair to him. He'll still be cracking on. But he's now down in 30th place and 11th in class. That's not normally where we see him, is it?
Yeah, it is very strange because obviously as well we did see him have the little bit of a moment, didn't we, Chaz, earlier on as well with the slowdown penalty. So the ever consistent Gianni Terha is now starting to struggle just a touch.
Yeah, he's taking his foot off the gas now. He's signed out. He's not bothered. I'm joking, Gianni. I'm joking. We've got Jack Wyborn currently in 3rd position. Jack's had a bit of a topsy-turvy season as well, to be fair to him. He's been involved in a lot of incidents that weren't his fault. He always seemed to just arrive on the scene of the accident, did Jack, and get put in a barrier unfairly. So it's good to see him running well at the moment. 3rd position in class for MRC 495. He's got class rival Marcel Breitenbach in the barbecue bread racing Ferrari just behind, and then in there with them another Ferrari, Jan Stitchbury, in the Aura Motorsports Alpha car. Yellow headlights on Stitchbury's car. I think he's just chosen a different sort of pack for the car, basically. It's the IMSA version of the Ferrari as opposed to the standard white LEDs on the front. Doesn't make any difference in terms of performance. It just depends on where the numbers go on the car and a few other things, I believe. Looks good for it. You'll see that he's actually running Michelin tyres on the car, whereas Marcel Breitenbach's is running Pirellis. You can tell by the different tyre rating on the two of them. That's nerdy fact of the day, but yeah, the base livery on iRacing changes all of that, so that's what it's down to. Just in case you've ever wondered, we have Rob Mackay here trying to chase down Scott Kostrick in the KM Racing Porsche, but Scott in the class above Rob, so he doesn't need to get in too much of a fight here, does he, Ed? There's certain drivers on the track that you don't need to worry about as much from class to class.
Yeah, you don't. There's obviously different factors, of course, with how you want to approach the race. Sometimes you do want to keep certain drivers behind you if they're in a different class, just as a bit of a buffer. And other times you realise that it's just going to hurt your race to hold them up, and you can instead use them to your advantage if they get ahead of you, and you can maybe slipstream and follow their lines, also just get a little bit quicker and learn the circuit from drivers that are in slightly higher classes than you. As you can see now, Rob Mackay is probably going to concede a position to Yanis Albert.
Yeah, they're going to run side by side down the start-finish straight. Yanis is going to have the inside line down towards turn 1. It's a longer line around the pit wall. Yeah, Rob making it very clear there that he's just going to move over. He's not going to pick the fight, although he's still braking just about as late as Yanis. He forces Yanis to at least put the effort in to get by. And through goes the German on his continued rise up the order. 19 places gained for him so far. Wesley van Rens has gained 10 spots. There's a few other drivers. Hussein Seraka Desler and Dennis Koller have gained 10 spots apiece. Wesley van Rens up to 6th place in class now in the Ferrari. A couple of podiums recently, or a podium recently I should say, after winning the first 2 races of the season and being an early favourite for the Evo class. He didn't exactly fade away, but he just didn't keep up that sort of form, did he? And it sort of maybe left a bit of a bad taste in his mouth, hoping to recover from it.
Yeah, it's just about trying to make the best of the situation. And you're only as ever good as your last race, really, aren't you? So you've always got to be doing the utmost of you as you can, especially in this crucial point of a season, isn't it, Chaz, where you can't afford to have a bad race from now until the end of the season. You have to just be able to maximise the points in any opportunity that you get given.
Yeah, definitely. There's not long now to recuperate if anything goes wrong. That's the thing. We've got 2 races to go after this one at Mugello, where we'll have 2 half-hour races with a pit stop in each. Really looking forward to Mugello, actually. It's going to be my first ever broadcast of an iRacing event at that circuit, which I'm looking forward to. Should be a lot of fun with the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Another shout to the sponsors, Kame, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy and AB Designs. Really appreciate having you guys on board to support the series and everybody involved. We ride on board here with Tristan Dinabrega because the gap has gone from being about 1.3 seconds to his teammate and race leader Luke Lucchese to just 6/10 now. On the last lap, he was 3/10 quicker than Luke, and the lap before that, I believe it was about the same. So, starting to really gain now is Tristan Dinabrega. And it's looking pretty tidy here. Do you reckon they'll fight if it gets to it, Ed, or do you reckon they'll just fly in formation?
Now, we do hope, obviously, that we'll be able to see them battle, but I think at this late stage of the race, it's all about minimising risk. We saw what happened when they were all battling at Sebring was an earlier on in this season, where I think it's understandable to let them race, but when you get to this crunch stage of the season, it's just so important to not take any silly risks.
No silly risk being taken here either by the look of it. Matt Hoyland right behind Simon Cheshire, Marcel Brayton back, Jack Wyborn and Jan Stitchbury in all of this as well. The bunch of them all together. It all started with Jan Stitchbury trying to get past the Premier Class driver of Jack Wyborn, and since then he sort of held them up a little bit and they've all been fighting. We'll go back a position here to Jack Wyborn's Porsche because he's got another Ferrari in the form of Marcel Brayton back all over his exhaust pipes now, and he is in second place in the class. So this is for a podium result. Still 42 minutes and change to go in this race, so still a long time. You've got pit stops to think about as well, but the battles are very fierce in the early stages here. We've got a battle still for third position in the Evo class as well. The Evo class lead is separated by 2.3 seconds right now, so that's not quite as spicy, but I'll tell you what, there's no mucking about here in the middle of the field, is there?
There really isn't. They're all battling away and giving us a great treat. You can... of course.
Oh no!
Dear me, that's a moment there for Jack Wyborn, and thankfully no one collects him. That was a scary moment. He needs to be careful to not reverse into the path of those ahead. And now the rejoin needs to be nice and careful. I think there's a little bit of a gap in behind Yannis Albert. But let's have a look at just how this happened for Jack Wyborn. I think he just bottoms out of the car.
Oh, such a shame for Jack, and that was mighty good avoidance that by Marcel Breitenbach, I have to say. Very, very good stuff by Marcel. So close to a contact there, and he actually went in front of the car. He went where the car is actually travelling to, but I suppose he ran that wide. He was always going to go right here. Oh, that is close. That is so close, but it's such a shame for Jack Wyborn. I was just saying before, wasn't I, about the fact that he's had such a topsy-turvy season. He's always found himself in incidents that weren't his fault, and that one little mistake just shows you how tough it is to get these curbs right round here at Imola. It's a nightmare of a circuit.
Really is. I mean, I love it. I know you're going to keep saying about how bad it is, how much of a nightmare it is. I love this track. I love it a lot, as you well know. And that's just part and parcel of the circuit. If you make
it's part
a mistake,
of the charm.
It punishes you hard for it, and it does show that obviously drivers really can't afford to make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are what can cause the excitement around here.
Absolutely. We're riding on board here with Gary Mitchell in the Ferrari 296 GT3. He's trying to chase down Graham Matthew and Rob Mackay, two drivers that are in the Evo class and not in the same class as him. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen there, the sort of darker orange stripes next to the position numbers are the drivers in the Evo class, and then the ones with yellow are in the Premier class, the middle division. The ones with just white or no stripe are the elite class drivers in the top set, so to speak. Gary Mitchell flying down the start-finish straight in the Ferrari. Making quite a nice noise, actually. It's starting to grow on me a little bit, but it's just not a Ferrari V8. I actually, with said friend of mine over the weekend, went to that Ferrari dealership. We saw a Ferrari F12 Berlinetta and a Ferrari 599, two of Ferrari's V12 powered GT cars, so to speak. And oh goodness me, they do things to you, those cars. A 599 is always my favourite Ferrari, even over the likes like the P3 and the F40. I just love the charm of a 599. It's that ugly, it's beautiful. And obviously the F12 was a more spiky version that came years later, but a V12 and a GT car like that is epic. As there is a slowdown. No, it's not a slowdown for Alex Fretwell. He's a lap down and he's moving out of the way.
Yeah, which is a shame, because obviously we were hoping to see a battle, weren't we, between himself and Tristan Engelstad, but that opening lap incident that he got caught up in, through no real fault of his own, mind you, it's just really put a huge dent in his championship aspirations, all the way down last place in the Premier class.
And that would have been painful as well, because the driver that he was letting through was Tristan Engelstad, who is the guy he's trying to chase down in the championship as well. Engelstad's second in those Premier standings right now, and he's going to almost cement that with this finish if it stays how it is. He's got Paul Cowlishaw right behind him in the Lamborghini, but if he knows what's good for him, he'll just let Paul go if he starts getting a bit too feisty. Jean Breitenbach in the BMW as well, right up there. It's good to see Jean back with us on the circuit again. The Breitenbachs have been hit and miss in their attendance this season for various reasons, but you know, nothing untoward from either of them. They've been great supporters of the championship and the streams as well. We're very, very grateful for it, boys. And Jean guiding this absolute boat of a BMW around now as he goes in towards Tosi. You can see that Cowlishaw's body language in that Lamborghini says, please let me through, because I don't want to look at this BMW anymore.
Yeah, but obviously it's not any obligation, is he? They're battling away, and you know what? It's fair game. But right now, I'm just looking at the gap that Tristan Engelstad has over Marcel Breitenbach because of obviously the cars in between himself and second place. It's looking very comfortable, isn't it, for the Mercedes driver, currently occupying top spot in the Premier class and making a big step towards securing second position in the championship, with him scoring maximum points, and that's well we're down in 16th, not scoring anywhere near it enough to keep the championship alive. It does look like it could be sealed before the end of the day.
Potentially could be. We've got moves going on here. Gary Mitchell down the inside of Rob Mackay. Rob in the Evo class, Gary Mitchell going through in the Premier class, but Graham Matthew in that blue and white Lamborghini is fighting Rob Mackay for position. This is for third place in the Evo class right now. They've got Robin Aston behind them with the Superleggera front end on his Porsche 992 GT3R. But again, he on paper will be able to get past these guys. Paul Cowlishaw, who we were looking at a moment ago, is actually coming to the pit lane now, Ed, so taking a slightly earlier pit stop here to maybe get a bit of clear air for when he comes back out of the pits.
Yeah, it could be the case. We do often see that the field tends to come in around about the halfway mark, just a bit before potentially. Yeah, this is just, I think, try and catch some clearer air. I might find some traffic though, because you're right in that midfield pack is where we see a lot of the action and battling. So Paul's going to hope to sort of avoid all of that.
It sounds great, Paul, but it's going nowhere, son. He's building the revs up, and then the anticlimactic drop in revs, and then crawl away on the pit lane limiter. Tries to smooth out the run as best he can. Cars flying past. That was Dennis Koller and Gianni Terha making their way by. Next up is, I believe, Joe Spara. Actually, no, that was Ashley Brooks in car 19 making his way by. Ashley, the last runner at the moment, unfortunately. He was involved in that first lap incident. 38th outright and 13th in class. It's not been his day, unfortunately. But we look back at this battle for third place in the Evo class, and actually Rob Mackay has opened up a bit of daylight between himself and Graham Matthew. Thanks to those of you that have been supporting the stream so far. Hello to all of you in the chat, whether you be on YouTube or Facebook. You're watching the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship here on Chaz Draycott Media with myself, Chaz Draycott, and the wonderful Ed May up in the commentary box. Thanks once again to championship sponsors Kamei, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy and AB Designs, and of course the wonderful people at Evolution Sim Racing for putting their faith in us to broadcast their championship and their events. It's great to be back here once again on a Thursday night, and don't forget we're back for Season 5 as well for all of the racing. We look forward to bringing that to you. Let's shine a bit of light here on Christophe Demay for a moment, Ed, because again, he's a guy that's had a nightmare of a season in that BMW and now changed to the Audi. Bit of damage on it from that first lap incident, but you know what, he's ploughing on really well here ahead of Thomas Pugh. He's holding that position on the podium. This could be a very, very strong result for him, and this will be a very redeeming result because, admittedly, he's had a few rounds where he's been caught up in other people's accidents and he's not really been enjoying it as much, which is completely justified. You know, it's no fault of the leagues or anybody else's, but it's just, it does knock you for six sometimes when you put all the effort in and have a bad night. So it's good to see that Christoph's getting the rub of the green here this evening.
There he is, which is wonderful to see, especially in Audi up fighting for the podium. We haven't seen that too often this season. It's been mainly Porsches and Lamborghinis battling on there, with the odd appearance of some other car in the mix. I think the BMWs have tried as much as they can do to get up there as well.
And the Ferraris as well.
And the Ferraris as well, actually. You're all right, the Ferraris as well. But it's been mainly, hasn't it, the Porsches of RDSA right up at the top, and then also Ryan Otten's Travel One Esports right in the mix as well. Shame, obviously, about Ryan Otten's early incident. It's just a case that there's usually one driver that comes off second best on the opening lap, and it was just happening to be him on this occasion, as Robin Aston seems to go off second best potentially from a little bit of a battle here with sort of a Lamborghini of, who's that? Sorry, that he's had an incident with Paul Cowshaw?
No, that was Graham Matthews' Lamborghini. He's just had a spin following him there. There was a bit of a wobble from Graham Matthew, and then Robin seemed to do the same thing in sympathy, but the car isn't in the best shape already, so maybe that's affected it. Thomas Pugh, Jean Breitenbach, Jan Stichbury, Tristan Engelstad, Yannis Albert, all in the pits. Yannis getting his pit stop out of the way, so he's got as much clean air as he can possibly have. Francois Brandet making his way into the pits as well. It's a really important pit entry here because you're going very fast And the cone to slow down at and the line that you need to slow down at is very early down the pit lane. James Pallett heads in. Gianni Terha next up across the line. He's not done his pit stop just yet. We'll show you the pit stops on the left-hand side so you can see who's done them, who has not. There's a lot of guys in the top of their respective classes that are yet to pit. Thomas Pugh just heading out in the Lamborghini there. He's just in front of Paul Cowlishaw, I believe. Actually, no, was that Yanis Albert? It was, wasn't it? Yanis Albert was with him. No, he wasn't. Yanis is further back. Who on God's green earth was that Lamborghini there then? Was that Gareth Newton? Yes, it was. Got there in the end, everybody. Flipping out. Professional commentator Chaz Draycott at your service. Good lord.
Marcel Brayton now leads for Barbecue Bread Racing in the Premier class. Right behind him, he's got Simon Cheshire for company in the MRC 495 Porsche. Not the 495 is his number, his number is 146, which is not confusing at all, is it, Chaz?
No, not at all, boys, no. No, two different team names, MRC 493 and 495. What's the difference visually between either of them?
Nothing.
So, yeah, we love the boys for it, though. And again, another one of the teams that really embodies the championship and really has fun with it. As into the pits goes Marcel Breitenbach's Ferrari. Simon Cheshire carries on. Luke Lucchese, the championship, race leader, I should say, is also in the pits. So is his teammate Tristan Dinobrega. He's in there with him. Down off the jacks they go, and they should leave about the same time. Flying formation. Lovely stuff. They're going to make their way back on track in lots of clear air by the look of it. Nobody coming down the pit straight. Great stuff by both those guys. They maintain their very, very impressive lead. Battle further back. Rob Mackay and Gary Mitchell once again. Rob's actually jumped him in the pits here, so Gary's got to do all the job again in the tea-cake liveried machine. Just behind them is Stephen Donnelly for JSD Racing Team. Rob Mackay overdoes it a little bit through Variante Alta Grassini, whatever the hell it's called these days. And Rob's going to concede that one and let the Tunnocks Tea-Cake Ferrari pop on by, or is he? Is he going to try and unwrap the foil off it? Ooh, I don't know. He's having a bit of a dig here, actually, is Rob Mackay, but no. Gary Mitchell eventually gets it done. And through he goes.
He's going to lose out on the strike potentially, because you can see
got a bad run.
Anyone to get slipstream off of.
No. Rob Mackay now still side by side. This is the thing. These guys may be in different classes. They are allowed to fight each other. There's nothing telling them not to. Coming out of the pits there is John Ludbrook as Rob doesn't leave all the room in the world for Gary Mitchell. Gary tries to go around the outside into the first corner, gets the inside line for turn 2. Fantastic racing, but they really don't need to be doing this at all because they've got guys behind them as well waiting to take the mick. Stephen Donnelly, Graham Matthew, Wesley Van Ren's all in there as well. All of them in the Evo class, so really Rob Mackay, well, actually no, except Donnelly. Oh no, he's the one that's going to lose out. It's Mackay. Oh no, Gary Mitchell has a wobble. Now he's side by side with Donnelly. Now he is fighting him for class position actually in the Premier class. The guys behind want to get through both of them and go after Rob Mackay in the Evo class. This is mighty confusing and very, very intricate racing. This John Ludbrook is at the back of this as well with a bird's eye view to it all, Ed. This is great fun.
The midfield never disappoints, does it? And this is pretty much right in the middle of the pack. Goes from, well, I think 19th down to 25th that we're on board with John Ludbrook at the moment. It's wonderful, isn't it, Chaz? And it's an inter-class battle as well. You've got the Evo class drivers and the Premier class drivers all battling it out, which is great to see. Obviously, the championship incentivises them to not fight with one another, to let each other pass, but there's nothing in the rulebook that says you can't battle away.
No, absolutely. 5 of the Evo class drivers and 2 of the Premier class drivers, and the Premier ones are right in the thick of it in the middle. This is Graham Matthew. He's got Wesley Van Ren's Ferrari just behind him. They're 4th and 5th in the Evo class. We're into the second half of the race, by the way. That's just crept up on us a little bit. And the battle further up is continuing on as well. Tristan Engelstad in the Mercedes, still just in front of Paul Cowlishaw. We look down from the colossally tall Mercedes at the tiny, angry Lamborghini of Paul Cowlishaw. But this is another example of it. Tristan Engelstad doesn't have to let Paul Cowlishaw by. He can fight with him all he wants. And Paul is certainly pushing on here on the Lambo. He's right on the back of him. It's like a doorstop, that Lamborghini, though, when it gets underneath the back of a tall car like this. So he's got to be so careful not to make any contact with the back of that Merc. And look at him wiggling this way and that way, throwing the kitchen sink at him.
Really chucking everything he can Might be getting the whole kitchen catalogue out at the minute, not just the sink, but maybe even the dishwasher if he can't get by. Sure, though, you can see that the Lamborghini is a lot twitchier, isn't it, than the Mercedes. Just the attitude of the car and the way that they attack the corners is so different. Going for the later apex, whereas the Mercedes, it turns in a little bit faster, a little bit earlier. Whereas Paul seems a bit pointier. On the exit, though, you can see how steady that the Mercedes is. Its ability to take the curbs seems to be its real strength around here, and is the reason why it's able just to keep that gap over Paul Cowlishaw.
Yeah, I really love the Mercedes. I think it's such a good all-rounder of a GT car. It's such a shame that there's not more people using it, really. I think it's a real staple of GT3 racing. It's, oh, goodness me, Tristan Engelstad needed to staple himself to the ground then because of that. That was a right old bounce. But I was going to say, whether it's an SLS, the first version of the AMG, or the GT3 Evo that we have here on iRacing at the moment, there's always been some about in some GT championships somewhere, whether it's ADAC GT Masters, whether it's the British GT Championship, GT World Challenge. There's always a Merc, even in IMSA as well. There's always Mercedes about because it is such a good all-rounder race car. But it's just a shame that on iRacing that isn't quite as reflected, and it's not the car of choice. That was the number 24 just getting out of the way there, which is teammate to Paul Cowlishaw, as, oh dear, blinking and out there for Tristan Engelstad. Just going to point out this as well in the background. John Breitenbach and Jan Stitchbury are close together. Jan's going pretty well in that Ferrari. I mean, he's been quick all season. He was good in the Mercedes at the start. He was pretty good in the Ford as well, but he's really putting pressure on John Breitenbach's BMW right now.
Yeah, Jan, obviously, like you said at the start of the broadcast, trying to get a feel for all of the different GT3s, maybe for next season. Also, just to understand, maybe from a driver's point of view, of the strengths and weaknesses of each car that it'll have to battle later on in the season. There's nothing better than obviously having that first-hand experience behind the wheel to know where certain cars might be faster and others might be a little bit slower, and where you can sort of take advantage of that in a racing situation coming up against them.
Love riding on board with the Ferrari. It's actually quite relaxing to sit on board with it because the noise is so subtle compared to a lot of the other cars. Feels like a very dumbed down noise, but because of the lack of noise, it feels like it's quicker in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like it's trying as hard to be as fast as it is. And it's quite similar in the BMW as well, with its 6-cylinder single turbocharged engine. It doesn't make as dramatic a noise, to be fair, so it looks like it's an effortless ride. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It doesn't look like it's really exerting any sort of stress around it. Actually maybe a little bit there for the BMW, as now Jan Stitchbury has the opportunity to try and move around the outside on a very slow moving BMW. Now with the speed around on the exit, you can see how wide the line that Jan takes to really give him the momentum up the hill. Now he's going to potentially be clear coming in towards Piratella. Going to have to really attack the corner, and he does get the move made on the BMW of Jean Breitenbach. Lovely stuff there by Jan, taking great advantage of Breitenbach, who got a little bit slowed up through the Villeneuve chicane on the exit. Yannis Alba a little bit twitchy, trying to get past Marcel Breitenbach, the other barbecue bread racing car, and it's going to be both of them losing out. I thought he was going to get into the back there of the Lamborghini. Yannis Alba, very fortunate there to not get caught up in that.
How did that not go around there? Because that's a surefire way to spin a car, that is, to put a wheel, especially the left rear, on the grass at the bottom of Acqua Minerale. That's fantastic stuff. Great awareness by Breitenbach and Hoyland as well in the McLaren just behind to not hit the Lamborghini of Yannis Alba. And suddenly, 2 corners later, he's already right up behind Simon Cheshire. He's on a real mission tonight, is Yannis. He's certainly hungry for those championship points.
Absolutely. He can find a little bit of an avenue into the championship fight, but again, I think Shazati SAE Sports, Luke Lucchese, Tristan Tinnebrega too far ahead from to even think about getting onto the podium tonight than Christophe Demay. Actually, Christophe seems comfortable actually for the podium as well. Hopefully that's not the commentator's curse, but at the moment he is sort of not really got anyone ahead and not really anyone behind, so he's in his own little bubble, which is, I think, the best thing to do in a circuit like this, is just to focus on yourself, because too often if you get caught up in battles, that's when the mistakes can creep in.
Love riding on board with the Lambo though. It does make a hell of a racket. And doesn't that air filter sort of vent thing look like the old speaker system from the Teletubbies? I've only just remembered that that's what it just triggered me. That's what it looks like, and now I'm never going to unsee that ever again. Time for Teletubbies. Yannis, come on, crack on. Simon Cheshire just in front of him. trying to cling on to whatever he can in the Dipsy Green Porsche. Second place in class, though, with one car between himself and Marcel Breitenbach. It's not like he's got a big buffer, is it, to just let him go by? He can't just sort of roll over and say, yeah, go on, Yanis, after you, mate. He's going to have to fight this one till the cows come home, as I think someone's just had a drama at the chicane there, because there was a bit of smoke at the bottom of our screen. It might actually have just been from contact with the curbs. Some of these guys just kicked a bit of it up. We need to look at this, Ed, because these two are getting closer and closer together here, and I don't know if we're going to get a sort of Hamilton-Rosberg Bahrain 2014 situation, but maybe.
Hopefully we get to see them fight. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it, between Luke Lucchese and Tristan Dinnebrega, but we know that Luke Lucchese's real fight is with well, the man who leads the championship and who is sadly not here, Troy Dolinczek.
Yeah, indeed. It is a massive shame not to have Troy here tonight. Not quite sure what the reason is. I haven't seen anything from him or seen anything in the Discord, so yeah, not quite sure what's going on. But it is a huge shame for it to swing that way in the championship. But Luke Lucchese, I'm sure, will still take it. He's going to take the championship lead if it finishes the way it is, and I think there's not going to be too much risk between himself and Tristan. Still 22 minutes of the race left to go in round 14 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship here on Chaz Draycott Media. Really hope you're enjoying the show, everybody. We will be here till the very end. We'll get some driver interviews a little bit later on as well once the race is complete. We have one more race meeting to go after this at Mugello in a week's time, where we'll have two races, 2 half-hour races with a pit stop in each. Certainly looking forward to that. Mugello is always a dramatic venue, and it's going to be our first ever broadcast from Mugello as well on the channel, which will be good fun. Gianni Terhar, 10th place in class at the moment, Ed, 23rd overall. It's just such a shame about that little spin earlier, because that cost him almost half a minute, didn't it?
It really did cost him quite a lot, and it's all about wondering what could have been if not for that moment. But again, you can't race with what ifs. It's all about the situation you find yourself in now, isn't it? And you've got to make the best of what's in front of you. But Gianni Terhar chasing down these positions, it's exactly what we want to see from him, isn't it? A real champion drive now that he's been unleashed and doesn't have to worry about, oh, I need to just be a bit safe to bank points. He's already crowned champion. He can really go for this.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's just got to enjoy himself in this final round, I suppose, but maybe enjoying himself a little bit too much earlier. That's what it came down to. We'll have to wait and see. Ryan Ottens is continuing to recover from his first lap incident. He's got the car fixed now as well after the initial damage from the big crash on lap 1. He's now battling with Joe Shapara in the JSD Racing Team Porsche. Two fans of black and bright colours on their cars. They've got Alex Kunratz not too far ahead of them either. There's another car in there as well, actually. Who is that? It's Ashley Brooks in car 19. Ashley's trying to move out of the way on the right-hand side of the circuit, which is an interesting move. The guys go through without issue, though, so if it works, it works. But Ryan Ottens will not want to be sat behind Joe Shapara for very long here on his quest to rise back up the order. He's 9th in class, and Yanis Albert is 10 seconds up the road, who is also on a mission. So it's not looking likely that Ryan's going to make a whole lot of progress when it comes to his own class, is it, Ed?
Why is it? Just seeing Ryan Ottens now. How long does he have? He's got a while, doesn't he? Not whale, a while, doesn't he, before he can catch up to any real point scoring positions. So it's going to have to basically rely on an incident for drivers up ahead of him in the elite class before he can score any points. But he's trying to put himself in the best position to take advantage if there is, isn't he? And look at the amount of speed that he gains through Variante Alta, and after a few car lengths back from Joe Spira, he's already going to be alongside him into the braking zone. In fact, actually, Joe Spira realises what's up and decides to let Ryan past.
Well, through he goes. And a nice tidy job there from Ryan Ottens. Continues on his way down the road. And we'll have to see whether he can continue that charge and gain any places in his actual class, because that's where the points are handed out. Here's Tristan Engelstad in the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo 2020. 4 years this car's been around already. It's quite mad to think, actually, but it's certainly a big anglerfish of a machine. And still, Paul Cowlishaw can't find his way around it. Then again, it is like a housing estate compared to the Lamborghini, which is just a complete doorstop, as I said before. Making their way up the hill. There is definitely a benefit to the Mercedes, though, Ed. You're absolutely right. There's certain parts of the circuit where the car just looks so much more comfortable and effortless to drive away in. I suppose that's part of what's always hindered the likes of the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, even the McLaren 720Ss, for example, and the MP412C GT3. It's that mid-engined sort of instability, isn't it? They're very pointy at the front end, but they're harder to sort of guide around the circuit easily, like a front-engine car that's stable, like the Mercedes.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case, though, on iRacing that the most unstable cars are also the fastest. We saw it, haven't we, with the Audi R8 a few seasons back now, when that was the dominant force on iRacing. I think all of the pro teams were running that car because the instability allowed you to take a lot more entry speed and sort of ride right on the ragged edge when you were at that very highest level. And the more stable cars, things like the Mercedes, weren't as often utilised. And then it sort of swings the other direction, and we did have a period where the Mercedes was a very popular car to drive, and now it's, I think, back to Porsche and that rear-engined instability that creeps in that everyone seems to love so much.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's very much a case of, you know that the car's going to be unstable and you can kick its head in, but it's then just about dealing with the consequences on the exit. Matt Hoyland has been back in the pits, by the way, for a second time, and only stationary for 4 seconds. So I think he's had his second stop a bit earlier than a lot of other people will be doing. He's put himself back in the pack here, as he's right behind James Rankin for CHR Motorsport, and James has every right to fight him. They're in the same class as well, so even more reason. But Hoyland, I think, like I say, is pitted for the second time early anyway, as Cowlishaw finally tries a move on Tristan Engelstad and finally gets through. Good stuff by Paul Cowlishaw up to the top of the hill. Well, he said before it was an overtaking opportunity up there, Ed, and he has proven you absolutely right.
He's really going for it. It's great to see. Oh, look at that.
Wow.
He's actually throwing it out on the exit. Morale. He is not hanging about. Wonderful battle there. And Paul Cowlishaw in that Lamborghini, really pushing hard, but again, now off the exit, actually really good. We know that Lamborghini is a little bit twitchy sometimes on corner exit compared to the Mercedes, but on that occasion it was actually the Mercedes that was a little bit out of shape, and the Lamborghini just really hunkered down and got up and running.
Here we ride about a foot above what is technically an atom bomb. The engine underneath the Mercedes bonnet is an absolute weapon. It really is. We'll see what it can do now down the start-finish straight here, because look at it just raining in the Lambo. Slipstream obviously helping as well, but Cowlishaw is going to be seeing this thing get angrier and angrier, if I can get the words out, and bigger in his mirrors. Make sure that there's nowhere for Engelstad to go. It's hard but fair through the chicane. They've actually got a bit of company now as well, because look behind, Jan Stitchbury and the very angry-looking Ferrari is also there. This is going to be a fantastic scrap to the end. Bit of a flash of the lights from Jan, so yep, I am here, mate. Hello. Making their way through the Villeneuve chicane, and Jan looking so confident because he doesn't have to compromise yet for the car in front like Engelstad does. And down the inside, Stitchbury says, you know what, stitch that, have one of them. Through he goes into Tosa. Great move. And now Engelstad's going to try the move on the exit, gets a better run up the hill. He's going to be on the inside line, but Stitchbury's making him go all the way over to the left. Engelstad says no, stuff that for a game of soldiers, and through goes Jan Stitchbury in the Ferrari. Fantastic move that was at the Ferrari's home circuit. Wow, he made that work well. Great stuff.
Yeah, I think Tristan Engelstad got stitched up throughout all of that by this little move up the inside. You can see it here. As soon as the car gets up on the inside, he has to go and commit to run around the outside, and that's the best way to take that corner actually, is how Tristan took it, by leaving the gap on the inside, by then allowing yourself to take that later apex, but it does leave you vulnerable to a diving move up the inside.
And he backs out very respectfully there as well over the top of the hill, loses himself a bunch of time. However, he's still got the class lead at this point of the race, so he doesn't need to worry too much about that. As Cowlishaw there going around a bit of lap traffic in front. That was... who was that? Was that one of the CHR Motorsport cars? No, it was one of the ARC Motorsport cars. There's about 5 different teams in this championship with 3-letter names, followed by Motorsport. It was Sean Clark. He was actually just coming into the pits, had a bit of a poor run into turn, the final corner I should say. Stitchbury now around the outside of turn 1, says go on then Paul, let's have a bit of a ding-dong here sunshine. The Lamborghini sideways on the exit, Ferrari round the outside. Engelstad wants a bit of this as well. Jean Breitenbach's going to be closing his eyes by the time he gets to the Villeneuve chicane. Engelstad still round the outside of Cowlishaw, and no, Cowlishaw tucks in and says thank you very much as Engelstad's off. Class leader is off onto the gravel. Manages to recover, but he's got to be careful getting in amongst these fights here, because That's just not what you need to do, really, to say the least.
It really isn't. That's, again, just...
Look how far Breitenbach was here, by the way.
Miles back, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then he caught him and was right amongst it seconds later. Sorry, Ed.
No, go ahead. That's perfectly fine. John Breitenbach, and then you're going to take perfect advantage of just... Yeah, Tristan Engelstad getting too caught up in the battles.
Oh, I just clipped that inside curb. So he was on a bit of a compromised line anyway, and then obviously the cars in front were blocking his view of the corner, and he just ended up hitting that curb because he just quite simply couldn't see it coming in the way that he normally would when he was in a bit more of clear air. So, yeah, very, very feisty stuff from those guys. This is Rob Mackay in the Porsche. He's currently second in the Evo class at the moment. Russell Jakes is well away up the road and leading this class by a good 21 seconds. He is flying right now as Russell Jakes, doing everything right to try and take the title in the Evo category. Rob last week was saying he doesn't want the championship to be decided by someone else having a bad time, and Russell has bounced back brilliantly from that second race at the Hungaroring. Christophe de May heading down the pit lane with his fixed Audi and his hazard lights on, because that's what the Audi does on the pit lane speed limiter. That's the thing iRacing goes into such great detail with, is just how the systems work like that. That scared the life out of me, for God's sake. Oh my God. Why did that look like de May? No, he was stopped in the pits. No, he didn't stop in the pits.
No, he didn't. He
that was a drive-through.
That's the instant limit.
Oh, for God's sake. I was just saying how he was doing really well earlier and how it was nice for him to have the rub of the green. And now it's like the green is Velcro and he's rubbed his tongue along it.
He's not going to be the only one that's going to struggle with the instant limit, because obviously we know in these 1 hour races it isn't the greatest amount of leeway you get given. But I am surprised that it was Christophe de May, because he hasn't really had any cars to battle with and get potential car contact penalties. It's just been off tracks for him.
This is very true. It adds up very quickly, though. That's the thing. It really does catch up with you.
Actually, I will say, he may have gotten a 4X from the opening lap, even though it was a slight bit of contact between himself, wasn't it, and Ryan Ottens. It was still probably enough for iRacing to deem it as a 4X.
Yeah, indeed. It's the slightest of touches can really be unfair to you sometimes, and I mean, we've both seen it in our time. I don't think there's ever been a race where I've not had contact, to be fair, Ed. There's a reason I'm a commentator, once again, I'll say that. But yeah, it's a shame that it does penalise you like that, but it's one of those where it's, what is it, innocent? No, guilty until proven innocent? Is that the way around you should say it with iRacing? I don't know. It's usually innocent until proven guilty, isn't it? But it's the other way around with iRacing. It's like, stuff it, you were there, you're getting 4 penalty points. It's the Oprah thing. You get 4X, you get 4X, everybody gets a 4X.
Guilty by association.
Guilty by association, yes.
Terminology.
Big fan.
It's not quite a law degree thing, but it's close enough that I'll be able to flex it.
I'm just enjoying being on board with the Porsche again. Tristan Dinabrega and Luke Lucchesi flying around the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy in great harmony together here at the top of the class. And to be fair, I think this will pretty much cement the team's championship for them if they finish as they are now, with the Quad Dash Racing guys a bit further down. Tristan Engelstad still leading his class, by the way. Christophe de May and Marcel Breitenbach have just swapped around. Christophe through in the Audi. He's in the class above Marcel Breitenbach, so Marcel's just decided to move out of the way. Gianni Terhaar's just on the fastest lap in the Premier class. Better late than never on his recovery back up through the order. Biggest mover is still... Oh, there's a car off there, wasn't there? That's Ashley Brooks that has been off. Ironically at Tamburello in the Rothmans livery. Oh, God. He's now back again on the right-hand side, as he was a lap or two ago. But I was going to say the biggest mover in the field is Yannis Albert in the Sumo Racing Lamborghini. It's been a great recovery drive by Yannis, as we expected. Up to 7th place overall and 7th place in his class. He's ahead of Christophe de May after Christophe's unfortunate drive-through penalty that he had before. As no, Matt Hoyland's off in the McLaren. And that, I believe, is him straight back to the pits and race over. Is he just going to hit the curb here? It might have actually disqualified him in the end as well, because of the fact that it disappeared quickly, but it's gone to the pits. Oh, no. Oh, if that doesn't sum up the MP412C GT3, I don't know what does. Oversteery pig.
Matt Hoyland. Yeah, Matt Hoyland, I think you're probably right, actually, with the instant limit penalty there, just taking him out of the equation, because as soon as the car came to a stop, it wasn't like he was able to wait and then tow it, pulled him off instantly. So that was probably why he was able to vanish from our screens so quickly after the incident. Look, though, at Tristan Engelstad once more, who I think is going to be still in the thick of all of the action, as per usual. You can see Ian Stitchbury leading this train of cars, not quite in the podium places, but still, fourth place is a very good result for a driver who's making his first race of a season in a new car. As you know, the versatility that Ian has, though, isn't it, Chaz? And that could be a real great benefit for him later on, especially when coming into the next season when it comes to choosing the car.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, one thing that I'll always praise sim racers for when comparing them to drivers that, you know, do this in the real world as well, is the versatility of being able to drive so many cars. Because, you know, a driver will maybe drive one type of car for 1 or 2 years, even longer than that sometimes. You know, I know people that have raced in Clios for God knows how many years, you know, won double-digit amount of titles. It's crazy. But sim racers can very quickly hop from one car to the next. I know a few friends of ours that, you know, they'll do 3 different leagues in a week. They'll go from something like an open-wheeled car with loads of downforce and absolutely rapid everywhere. Then they'll go to the touring cars, which are a little bit more sort of wallowy and a lot slower. Then they'll jump in GT3 cars, and they'll be quick in all of them every single week. And it's just amazing, the versatility to be able to tune your brain and your muscle memory into each car at each circuit is just fantastic, you know. And a lot of the drivers at the top end of the order in this series, and to be fair, drivers all the way through the order, no disrespect to those that are further down, they can jump from one car to the next and be proficient in each of them. It's just awesome to see it. It really is.
It is really, really great to see, isn't it? I thought that was going to be a moment there with the slow car being approached. That's Dennis Collett trying to get out of the way as best he can. Sort of got in a little bit of the way of the Brayton back, though, just a touch.
Yeah, he had a bit of a drama down at turn 1, actually. I was trying to figure out who it was. I think he's just gone, a little bit hot into there, just clips the grass. Good save. Good save indeed, Dennis. And then he recovers.
Yeah, nice little screenshot of that. Nice little drift, wasn't it? I think he clipped the apex just a touch as well.
Absolutely. Not quite the apex drift that I tend to get sent about 5 times a week on Instagram of the Clio drifting down towards Acqua Minerale, with yours truly commentating on it. Felice Gelmini, that was, in 2022, I think it was. Amazing, amazing bit of car control. There was a wet line. Basically, he dipped a wheel onto the wet line coming in, drifted all the way down through Acqua Minerale. As he got to the bottom of the hill, he then dipped the left rear onto the paint again, and it was still sideways, and he made the apex. It was absolutely amazing. If you've seen the clip, you'll know. And yes, yours truly was commentating on that. Someone ruined it by putting Tokyo Drift music or Initial D music over it, I think. Whoa, bye-bye, John. Whoa. John just clips the Astro and flies over to the left-hand side. Good job of saving that, though, Ed. That was mighty quick reactions from John Ludbrook.
Impressive car control on display there by John Ludbrook, who really had to fight to keep it under wraps. But again, and now he's going to have to try and navigate. I think this is Ashley Brooks, is it? Trying to get out of the way. Well, gets very out of the way there. That's going to give him a few extra incident points for running off the circuit, though, and you can't afford to do too many of those because you only get 14 before the drive-through penalties start to apply.
I was going to say, ticket prices can't be that bad to get into Imola today, because Ashley's just had to pay again to get back in. Flipping heck, he went way off there, but it shows you, just how easy it is to do that. Just one tiny miscalculation, you clip the curb, and suddenly you're facing a wall and having to do a lot of correcting to try and keep the thing in the vicinity of the area. Right now, Ian Stitchbury is going to be checking his mirrors, and it's going to be a very similar view of what we've got here, which is Paul Cowlishaw's Sumo Racing Lamborghini. Thomas Pugh on for a podium, by the way, is very much under the radar again. We do often say that about Thomas, not in a bad way either. No news is good news where he's concerned, and he's on his way to a solid result once more for his championship charge. But Ian Stitchbury's got his work cut out. It's great to see Ian right at the fore again, though, because he was always up there in the Mercedes, to be fair. But now, well, he's just been brilliant in this Ferrari. He had his meme week or two in the Ford, and then he's decided now to give this a go, and it's certainly worked for him. It's been good to see the Ferrari remaining competitive. We've got a Ferrari in the top 5 and on 2 podiums in each class at the moment, actually, which is great to see on its home turf here in Italy. I know it's technically San Marino, but it's a region of Italy, isn't it? The Emilia-Romagna region. Luke Lucchese still leads the race, though, from his teammate Tristan Dino Brega. This flying formation is going to have the Red Arrows guilty? No, they're going to have the Red Arrows jealous at this point, Ed, because RDSA have just been the masters of this season, haven't they? And they've been hard to beat. and you can't really be mad at them for it either, because they just do it so effortlessly and so humbly as well. You know, they're very kind about what they say about the other drivers and teams as well. They're great sports, but it's just, you can't mess with it.
It's a very professional job that they do, isn't it? By able to just sort of continue dominating the races in the fashion that they have been for so much of this season. We saw Danny Weir just at the front of the shot for a moment, trying to get more out of the way than anything else of the RDSA esports cars. Danny Weir finds himself in 6th place in the Evo class, potentially scoring some very strong points. And in behind, he's got a little bit of a gap, doesn't he, to the next car in his class, Francois Brandet, who is all the way down in 7th place, currently 16, nearly 17 seconds back. You can see him here. So for now, it's looking very good for Danny Weir to score some very good points in his championship for DXT Motorsports Academy. Looking at it though, no driver got a more comfortable lead than Russell Jacques, that we just saw for a brief moment as Christophe Demai's race continues to, well,
unravel.
Fall apart. Unravel, yeah. It's sadly been the case for him after such a promising start. I dread to think how he's feeling in that cockpit, because it's just not been working out for him.
No, it's a real shame for Christophe, but you know what? Oh, he just clipped it on the way in, saved it the first time, and then the second time it goes round, and that is not going to do the floor of the car any favours either. That's going to feel absolutely awful. But Christophe continues to push on, though. You know, he's been a real trooper this season, and hats off to him. I think he's been at every single round, actually. So, you know, you can't knock the enthusiasm to continue racing. Tristan de Nobrega has taken the lead of the race. Tristan de Nobrega has overtaken Luke Lucchese. Is this planned? Is this team orders? Because, oh no, Luke's just made a mistake. He's gone well too deep into Rivazza, and through goes de Nobrega, no questions asked. I was going to say, is it a case of, I don't think Tristan's won many races this season, but I think knowing that Luke is in a position to take the championship lead with ease, is he just going to let his teammate through so he can take a win and have a bit of glory? I'm not sure. But no, we found out why.
Oh, well, that's a bit of drama, isn't it, at the last stages of the race, and we will have one more lap when they come up to the line now. Luke Lucchese's got a little bit of work to do, doesn't he, to try and close down that advantage. Maybe hope that there's some traffic up ahead, but the car in front of them comes into the pits. So now it's just Luke and de Nobrega.
Absolutely is. They're going to fly past our camera on the bridge. Lovely, lovely stuff from the Porsches. RDSA Esports lead onto the final lap then of round 14 of the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Here on Chaz Draycott Media with your sponsors Kamei, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy and AB Designs. It's currently Tristan de Nobrega leading the way in the race outright, ahead of his teammate, with Tristan Engelstad leading in the Premier class in the Mercedes, and Russell Jacques leading in the Evo class. On to the last lap we go then, and RDSA Esports have been pretty untouchable throughout the season and will, I'm sure, put one hand from each driver on the trophy in terms of the team's championship here. Let's not forget Gianni Tehar is the now confirmed Premier class champion. He's had a bit of a rotten race today though, but he'll still be enjoying himself battling out there. He's right on the back of Joe Shapara right now. He's continuing to push on, but through Aqua Minerale once more. Tristan de Nobrega has been handed this win in the final moments here, Ed. I'm not sure if he's going to give it back. I don't think he's got any reason to though, because Luke Lucchese, he's going to take the championship lead by a considerable margin anyway.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be Luke Lucchese having to settle for second place unless we see a mistake from de Nobrega now. The pressure has not really been applied too much. The gap is still comfortable enough for de Nobrega to not look in his rearview mirrors as he makes his way through now one more corner before he can come round and take the race victory, and it doesn't look like he's going to be giving it up at all.
Absolutely not. Tristan de Nobrega wins at Imola for RDSA Esports. It's another 1-2 and they take the team's championship. Luke Lucchese second. Brilliant performance by the guys as always, and look how far back, with no disrespect, Thomas Pugh is. He just comes down the hill now a good 23 seconds off the leaders. What a performance by the guys tonight, but great under the radar stuff from Thomas Pugh. Really big points for him this evening. He'll be happy with that one. Flashes the lights as he crosses the line in the Lamborghini. Very, very well done. Engelstad, he's had a real busy race, to be fair, to get here. Can't remember how long it's been since we saw him win a race in the class, actually, to be fair. But he comes around the final corner, and he is going to get the job done here at Imola. Very, very well done. Awesome stuff And great to see the Mercedes grab a victory again as well. It's been a while since we saw that. Simon Cheshire, second for MRC 495, just ahead of Marcel Breitenbach. And it's going to be Russell Jakes. Well, this is going to be one hand on the trophy for him as well, I'm sure, in the Evo class. What a great, great job he's done tonight. Everything has gone right for Russell Jakes. Is he running out of fuel, though? Is that one final thing that's not quite going right? No, is he side by side with... I don't know.
Oh.
Jack Wyborn's gone through. And he's actually letting Jakes back through again as they cross the line. That's lovely stuff of him. That's MRC 493 and 495 together, actually. Rob Mackay is going to be next up, though. Round the final corner he goes. And again, big championship points for him. A really solid job once again for Rob. Top effort. 3 places gained for him. Wesley Van Rens gets a podium as well in the Ferrari. 12 positions gained for him in car 99. But it is RDSA Esports that take a very convincing victory at the front. They didn't have Troy Dolinshek with them here tonight, but my oh my did they make it look good. So we wait for the final cars to just cross the line. Alex Fretwell's in there somewhere in the Ferrari. Nightmare of a night for him, unfortunately, but he's run out of fuel as he crosses the line as well, Ed. Some of them really did call it fine, actually, because it was only the one stop tonight.
Yeah, it seems to be just the case of the one lone stop. Obviously, the driver's able to fill the tanks up above the limits that they have to serve at the start of the race with the fixed setup. Well, that was a very, very interesting race, especially the dire moments, wasn't it? The two RDSA Esports drivers swapping around thanks to a mistake, a very rare mistake as well from Luke Lucchese, that saw Tristan Dinneberger gifted the race victory.
Absolutely. We'll have a look then at the race results, shall we? We'll first go through the elite class today. It's not coming up. That's what she said. Tristan Dinneberger takes the win for RDSA Esports, just ahead of Luke Lucchese, then 23 seconds back. Thomas Pugh gets another podium. Jan Stitchbury was 4th, ahead of Paul Cowlishaw in the Sumo Racing Lamborghini. Next up was John Breitenbach in car number 272, with Yanis Albert recovering to 7th place. He actually was 7th overall as well, 29 places gained. Christophe Demay, well, it was a case of what could have been for Christophe, unfortunately. He finishes 8th with Ryan Ottens, only a minute down in the end, actually, after a massive accident at the start. Ed, would you like to take it away after the Premier class, mate? Or with the Premier class?
I would love to, Chaz. I would love to, as we have Tristan Engelstad taking a race victory and a big step towards securing 2nd place in the Premier class, with Simon Cheshire finishing just behind. It wasn't necessarily the smoothest of races from Tristan Engelstad, but still the margin of victory is very impressive indeed. Simon Cheshire finishing just ahead of Marcel Breitenbach. Great little battle there, wasn't it, for 3rd place, ahead of Jack Wyborn and Gianni Taha, who still had a bit of a topsy-turvy race, but to come through and finishing inside the top 5 just shows his consistency and his also raw pace. Joe Sparrow finishing in 6th, just ahead of Scott Kostrick in 7th. Stephen Donnelly is 8th, ahead of Hussein Sarakar-Desla and James Bostock. Hussein actually doing very well there to recover from his pit lane start following his penalty last time out at the Hungaroring. Then we come down to 11th for Alex Fretwell, who had to do a big recovery drive, didn't he, from the start of the race. The entire front of his car ripped off. So to try and score as many points as possible to keep his chances of a Premier Class podium finish alive. It's very, very impressive to say the least. Gary Mitchell there finishing in 12th place, up ahead of Robin Aston, with James Rankin, Paul Robson and Matt Hoyland rounding out the Premier Class field.
Thank you very much, Ed. Moving on to the Evo class then, the 3rd category. Russell Jakes takes a very, very outstanding win, 19 seconds ahead of Rob Mackay, with Wesley Van Rens getting another podium. I believe that's his 3rd in a row now, or maybe 2nd in a row, actually. I don't think he got one at the first race of Hungaroring. Shut up, Chaz. Graham Matthew finishes in 4th place in class for KM Racing, with John Ludbrook, the last car in the lead lap. Danny Weir was next up in the Audi, ahead of Francois Brandet, with James Pallett and Dennis Koller, with Gareth Newton rounding out the top 10. The cars that were 2 laps down were Sean Clark and Ashley Brooks, with Alex Koeneraerts not finishing the race. Apparently his screen went black early on into the event. So, we're going to slow things down. We're going to go for a long replay, and we're going to get some drivers in to have a chat with here, see who is around. And to be fair, I want to speak to our race winner because I don't feel like we've spoken to Tristan Dinabrega in a while. Tristan, welcome back to the commentary box, my friend. You must be really pleased with that tonight. Maybe not the way you wanted to beat your teammate with his mistake, but in it to win it and all that.
Yeah, very happy, and great to be back in the comms box. Thanks, guys, and hope you had a good evening watching the racing commentating. How was it from your side?
Yeah, a lot going on as expected here at Imola. It's a very busy circuit. There's not really anywhere to hide, is there? But the curbs were the main issue for a lot of people. Did you feel like that was something you had to steer clear of, or was it just a case of attack it and see what comes your way?
Yeah, so to be honest, in qualifying, obviously that was quite a challenge for us to try and not off track, because the off tracks here also are just super tricky. So to get a clean lap, that was the goal, because overtaking here is also just a big challenge. So quali was the main thing. We got that P1 and 2, and from there we could just pace ourselves nicely. Obviously we were racing all the way. I was trying to push Luke every lap to try and force a mistake, and yeah, unfortunately pushed him in the end, and he finally made that mistake. He says something happened with his brake pedal, so unfortunate for him, but yeah, great result for us, P1 and 2 again. And yeah, also just a pity to be missing Troy tonight. He was actually at a school event, so yeah, I missed out on him as well tonight. And then obviously with Giannis as well, with his penalty from the last race, another pity. But yeah, let's go to the last round, and hopefully the four of us can have a good fight and end off the season well.
I was going to say, Troy's circumstances certainly give a new meaning to the phrase "every day's a school day," don't they, I suppose? But it's a shame not to have him here tonight. But still, a great performance by you guys at RDSA. You must be excited for that final round now, knowing the pressure's pretty much off for the team's championship at least. Yeah,
so the team championship looks wrapped up, which is great. The last 2 seasons we've managed to finish second in both, so it's nice to just take that one step further. So yeah, great result for all 3 of us. And yeah, for the drivers, obviously Luke and Troy, with Troy missing out tonight, I think Luke obviously has taken the lead now and got quite a lead. And then myself, I think I'm still in quite a good fight with Giannis for P3, so let's see how that goes.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Tristan, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, so all our partners at RDSA Esports, Spirit Invest, Warwick Wealth, Caddis, Appleton, Sparko, Ravenel, the works. Thank you guys. We appreciate your support. And then yeah, just anyone and everyone who's supporting us, our families and that kind of stuff. We really appreciate it.
Cracking stuff. Well done again tonight, Tristan. Fantastic performance, mate. And we'll see you for the finale at Mugello. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Well, there we go. Tristan Dinabrega, race winner after that one, with his teammate Luke Lucchese finishing in second place. I want to quickly move to our class winner in the Evo class. Russell, very well done, mate. You must be so happy to have turned it around after what happened last week.
Yeah, delighted, especially after the qualifying session was a bit of a disaster as well. So, yeah, really happy. Although I don't know what happened to Kunratz. He just seemed to disappear.
Yeah, I saw in the Discord that he'd said he had a black screen or something, or his monitor died. I'm not quite sure. So he had a technical issue, unfortunately. But I suppose, as I've just said to Tristan Dinabrega, it's one of those in it to win it situations, isn't it? I suppose when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but I'll take it.
Absolutely. I was going to say, in terms of the championship points, it must make you a little bit more comfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, Rob was still up there in second place, still keeping you busy. You know, it may have been a big gap between you, but in terms of the points, they don't always tell the full story, do they?
No, I mean, he's come in second. I think the gap now going into the second race is probably, I think it's about 23 points. Which, when there's 105 points on the table next week, there's not much of a gap there to play with.
Absolutely not. It'll certainly keep it exciting for us. Is there anything that you're going to do in preparation for next week? Anything you can do differently, or is it just a case of attack it as best you can on the night?
I've just got to try and get the same prep in this week. I am away with work for 1 day, so just try and get some, try and start the prep work kind of tomorrow, and do a coaching session on Sunday with Giannis and just try and pull it together on the night. But yeah, look, regardless of what happens, it's been an amazing season. Rob's been great, racing against all season. Wesley, Alex, John Ludbrook. In fact, the whole Evo side has been, it's been so competitive this year that any of us probably deserve to win it. So it'll come down to one race, which, if you were going to start that at the start of the season, say it all comes down to one, you'd be delighted, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah, and we look forward to that in the commentary box as well. So we wish you the best of luck for it, Russ. We may be speaking to you again next week, but for now, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before you go?
Yeah, look, massive shout out to Yanis. I think if we look at last season's results for me, I'm fairly new into iRacing and fairly new into sim racing. I think I was pretty much bottom the Evo season last season, and turned it around to be sitting in top for pretty much most of the season. Can't thank him enough. So yeah, great, and teammates as well, obviously. James Bostock for running the league. Awesome.
Nicely said, Russ. Well, fantastic to speak to you, mate. Thank you very much for joining us once again, and we'll see you at Mugello. Have a good evening.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Russell Jakes takes the win in the Evo class, and we'll very quickly move on to who I've just noticed has jumped in. Tristan Engelstad has popped in for a chat after winning the Premier class tonight. Tristan, you managed to just about drag the Mercedes over the line in the end. That looked like a lot of hard work, mate.
Yeah, I'm totally burnt out right now. It's been a very tough race for me, to be honest.
Well,
I'm
Imola,
so happy for winning.
I was going to say, I bet you're over the moon, because Imola's a huge challenge anyway, let alone having like 40 odd other crazy people on the circuit with you. It was a case of just dodging everything that got thrown your way, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of. At the beginning, I was, Johnny let me by, and then he kind of spun out, so I had him as protection in the first lap. So, Jesus Christ, I was so sweaty.
I was going to say, I can sense the relief from you right now that you've got that win under your belt here at Imola. Obviously, it helps you a lot in the championship as well. It's a real shame what happened in terms of the championship fight with Alex being taken out on the first lap. But it's one of those things in motorsport. Sometimes it doesn't always go your way. So you must be quite confident going to Mugello, at least, with that little gap in the championship added up now.
Yeah, of course. I'm like totally relieved, and I was hoping a bit for a fight with Alex, but everything can't go your way. But I'm very happy for winning at least. I was waiting for this so long. It's taking me so long to get this win, and then yesterday I practiced for like 2 hours straight and was driving constantly.
And it's paid off.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And it is finally paid off, mate. Well, it's great to see you get that victory, Tristan. I'm very happy to see the Mercedes get a win as well. I'm a huge fan of the Mercedes, so you've done it a good service there, Sunshine. Although, obviously, Stitchbury got one as well earlier in the season, so there's some of you guys really flying the flag for the big old beefy Merc, which is what we want to see. How's it been to drive it this season?
Yeah, Jenny says the Merc is bad.
Oh, well,
I mean, good, so.
you finished ahead of him in a Porsche, so it's absolutely fine. You can rub that in now till the season's over. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Tristan, before you go?
Oh yes, of course, you guys for commentating amazingly the whole season.
Thank you.
And then of course my teammate for screaming in my ear the whole race.
Oh, bless him. Well, only one more meeting of the screaming, mate, but thank you very much for the kind words, Tristan. It's a pleasure to speak to you. Sir. Well done on the win, and we will see you at Mugello, mate.
Thank you. See you.
Cheers. Tristan Engelstad, fantastic character, and yeah, getting his first win of the season. Mercedes very well represented on many counts this season, and it's been really, really good to see it get that successful breakthrough. That is unfortunately all we have time for here tonight on Chaz Draycott Media in the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship. Thanks once more to our championship sponsors, Medius, Keenan Eco Energy, AB Designs and Kame. Thank you everybody for watching, really enjoyed having you along tonight, and thanks also to the organisers and Ed May as well, my co-commentator for this evening. We've got one more race meeting left to go, everybody, at Mugello in a week's time, where we'll have 2 half-hour races with a pit stop thrown in, and it's going to be an absolutely corking way to end the season. Thanks once again for watching, and we'll see you in a week's time.
4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition. And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a drift to go out.
All the way from back.
2.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.